Hello, my name is James Marvel. I'm your instructor for Philosophy 103, Informal Logic here at Ashford University. And just a little bit about myself, if you haven't looked at my profile in the classroom. I'm in my last year of law school. When I finish up with all my classwork and homework for my classes, I come home and I use some of my spare time to teach philosophy courses for Ashford University. I think this is my fourth or fifth time teaching this class, but it's the first time that I've included videos. So hopefully that these videos will help you and be a little instructive. And next time, or if I get requests for it, I can bring my computer with me to my library and have a chalkboard and maybe write something out as demonstrations. I think that'll be helpful when we get into the deductive and inductive argument portion of the course. So let's get started. First, I just want to go over the discussions and what's required of you for this week's assignments. And then I wanted to describe a little bit about where informal logic fits into the overall field of philosophy as a discipline. So the first topic is the discussion number 1, and there you're just being asked to take an argument from your everyday life or a conversation, and remember, it doesn't have to be an argument like a fighting argument. It can be an argument where you're not even disagreeing with another person, but trying to get to the truth of the matter or the heart of the matter, something like that. So anyways, so something from your regular life. So something from my regular life, for instance, is my friends and I were arguing about the use of drone strikes by the U.S. government and whether they were legal underneath particular laws that have been written, both international laws and domestic laws. And so we argued back and forth about that, and just for argument's sake and for the demonstration of how your assignment should go, you need to have 2 premises and then a conclusion. Now, these aren't going to be necessarily valid deductive arguments. You'll discover what those are next week, but you need to have 1 premise, a second premise, and a conclusion. And what you want to try to do is have your conclusion follow from your premises. So, for instance, I would say something like this in regard to the argument I had with my friend at school. I would say, the use of drones and the use of drone strikes in foreign countries is illegal under international law. And then my second premise would be, the use of drones and drone strikes in foreign countries is legal under domestic law. And then my conclusion would be, therefore, it's unclear whether or not the use of drones and drone strikes in foreign countries is legal. So something like that. And remember, it's a very simple structure, just a first premise, a second premise, and then your conclusion. And there you have an argument. Your argument may or may not be valid, but that's something that we'll learn later what that means, and it may or may not be sound, and that's another term. I'm sorry, I'm in my house, and you may hear my cat. He's running around meowing because he always wants my attention. So when I'm at my house recording these, you may get some interference from my animals. I have a dog as well. Scripture and King Mimi are their names. So the second discussion has to do with the topic of prayer in schools, but it's not asking for your opinion on if you think there should be prayer in schools or there shouldn't be prayer in schools. The question is really getting at, how can we use logic and informal logic to deal with that topic and talk about it. So I want to know your thoughts on, can we use logic to come to a consensus or a conclusion about the debate of whether there should be prayer in schools or not? So you could say something like, I think that informal logic is something that should be used to inform us in our arguments about prayer in schools, because it allows us to see both sides of the debate and to clarify what are the good arguments and what are the bad arguments, and therefore our conclusions will be better than if we just hold on to previous beliefs that we have about something without analyzing them with logic. So that could be one example of how you could address the second discussion. Now, you can include what your opinion about prayer in schools is, but that shouldn't be the focus. So you could give your analysis about how you think informal logic can be used for the debate, but then you could also include, and I think there should be prayer in schools, but that shouldn't be the emphasis of what you're writing for the assignment. All right? And the last part I wanted to get into is just the field of philosophy, what that means, and where informal logic kind of situates itself within that discipline. So philosophy literally means the love of knowledge. That comes from the two Greek words, philia and sophia. Philia is a type of love. In the ancient Greek language, there were mainly two types of Greek love, or words used to describe love in ancient Greece. One was philia, the other one was eros. So philia, and you can hear just the philia, is kind of what we use for friendship. And that is how they kind of thought of the philia type of love, as kind of a respect, an admiration, a kind of brotherly, familial love. Then eros, of course, is the root word for our word erotic, and that kind of gave the expression of sexual love and desire, or instinctual love, passionate desire, those kinds of things. So you can see that there's a certain type of love that the Greeks were using to describe Sophia, which means wisdom. So it's literally the love or respect or admiration of wisdom. And that's what you are as a philosopher when you're doing philosophy. You're striving to be a lover of wisdom. So historically, the main four branches of philosophy are epistemology, which is the study of knowledge itself; metaphysics, which is the study of being, or the study of what is real; ethics, which is asking yourself the question, how ought one to live, or what is the best way to live your life? And then the fourth one is logic. And informal logic, of course, falls underneath the fourth branch, which is logic. And in informal logic, we'll be dealing primarily, exclusively with the English language, and how we can use the English language governed by some of the rules of logic. Now, the difference between informal logic and formal logic is that formal logic involves taking English sentences and translating them into symbols, and then using those symbols to make essentially logical equations, so that eventually logic ends up more like mathematics than it does like English. And this is used in things like computer programming and computer coding, where symbols are just used to tell the machine what to do. But a lot of these things are generated by some of the rules of logic and mathematics too. So I think what you'll find, and I hope what you'll find in taking this course, is that it's very challenging. I've been told by some of my students that I'm a hard grader, because in order to get an A, you have to have perfect answers. And I understand that it's very difficult to get a perfect answer in this kind of online environment, where you only have one shot to get something right. But what I try to do is I try to respond to your discussion posts as soon as possible, and I give you an opportunity to correct your mistakes, so that even if you get it completely wrong the first time, if you get it right the fourth or fifth time within the week before I grade all the discussion posts, then you can get 100%. on that discussion post, but you have to make the corrections that I'm asking you to, and I need to see that you really understand and that you're not just copying someone else's discussion post, which has happened a couple of times. That's the other thing that I wanted to let you guys know. And this is kind of long. It's already 10 minutes. If you have any other questions for me that I didn't talk about in this video, feel free to email me at my email address, which is posted under the Meet Your Instructor link in the classroom. And I look forward to the next 5 weeks with you. I hope that you're all going to learn a lot and come away with skills that are going to benefit you in your other classes and in all your professional endeavors. So nice to meet you all, and I'll see you later.